The Xbox One X released a few days ago as the most powerful console currently on the market, with a number of games that come with Xbox One X enhancements. In fact, there are a total of 77 at the time of posting this video, with many more coming in the future. But which ones take advantage of the console most? Today we're going to run down 7 games that take advantage of the Xbox One X best. It's also worth noting you'll need a 4K TV in addition to really reap the benefits of the console, but even if you still use a 1080p TV, you'll still notice a difference thanks to downsampling. Some of the factors taken into consideration for this video are: number 1, graphics, how much of a resolution bump the game receives, whether it supports HDR or not, and whether it introduces better effects, like improved lighting or shadows for example. Number 2, performance, does the game run smoother or at a higher frame rate? And finally number 3, does it give the player options, such as favouring resolution or favouring frame rate? To start, we have Halo 5 Guardians that's now a couple of years old. With Halo being Microsoft's most iconic IP, it's no surprise they put a lot of work into giving the game an Xbox One X enhancement. Halo 5 on the original Xbox One certainly wasn't a bad looking game, running at a dynamic 1080p, reducing its demanding times to maintain a solid 60 FPS. However, the visuals were overall slightly compromised to keep that level of performance. On the Xbox One X, however, we see a native 4K resolution, with only the extremely occasional drops, along with some high resolution textures that make for a staggering difference in clarity while still retaining that smooth 60 FPS. Sadly, Halo 5 doesn't support HDR, which 343 Industries have stated was something they wanted to add, but due to the game's age and that it wasn't created with HDR in mind, proved difficult to implement. It certainly would have been a great addition, but the resolution and texture differences alone has a massive effect, allowing you to see detail that simply wasn't possible before. Along with the visual upgrade, Microsoft are also touting faster load times, which is a nice benefit to have. Next is Final Fantasy 15 that released towards the end of last year. Final Fantasy 15 was one of the standout games when the PS4 Pro released, and is no different here when running on the Xbox One X. The game uses checkerboard rendering to obtain 4K, running at a native 1800p, the same as the PS4 Pro version, however sports noticeably sharper and cleaner textures. That, along with a fantastic example of HDR, makes for a great presentation and a big jump from the 900p resolution on the original Xbox One. For those that prefer better performance, Final Fantasy 15 is one of the relatively few games to offer different modes, one for visuals and one for performance. Switching to stable will slightly decrease the visuals but offer a more stable frame rate that many of you may value more over resolution. Released only recently and a sequel to Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor is Shadow of War. Shadow of War is another game to give players a choice of how the game runs, with one mode favouring resolution running at a native 4K, as well as a favour quality mode that improves shadows, lighting, increased draw distance and vegetation at the cost of a slightly lower resolution. Shadow of War is a fantastic looking game on the Xbox One X, and what mainly sets it apart from the PS4 Pro version aside from resolution is that it uses 4K textures that the PC version also utilises due to the more available RAM, resulting in a very clean image with not a muddy texture in sight. Add in the addition of HDR and Shadow of War is no doubt one of the most visually impressive games of this year, and definitely not one to miss out on. Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the best examples in this video. Originally released back in 2015, the game is given a new lease of life with a fantastic X enhancement, running at a native 4K over its original 1080p presentation, along with better texture resolution, improved anti-aliasing, volumetric lighting and better shadows to name just a few of the upgrades. What's most incredible is that it not only trumps the PS4 Pro version of the game that was visually stunning also, but looks astonishingly close to the PC version minus some small details, which is an amazing accomplishment. The improvements don't stop at the visuals however, as the game supports Dolby Atmos, that provided you have the capable speakers will give you unrivaled 3D sound, something that needs to be experienced in person to truly understand how much of a difference it really makes. Rise of the Tomb Raider offers 3 modes, high frame rate, enriched visuals and 4K resolution, giving you plenty of options to play around with to see which suits you best. For the next game we have the latest title in the Assassin's Creed series, Assassin's Creed Origins, that has been very well received by critics, no doubt thanks to the series taking a year off. Due to the huge scale of its map, it doesn't run at a native 4K as some on this list, instead using dynamic scaling, going anywhere from 1700p to an almost native 4K depending on the situation, but don't let that lead you to believe it's any less impressive than the others, as it's a fantastic looking game for the X. Origins also features Dolby Atmos and HDR, that in the case of HDR makes sunsets and the various fire effects like the numerous torches littered throughout the world stand out, especially during nighttime where they appear remarkably vibrant. Lastly, the game runs noticeably smoother with better draw distances, and to top it off sports quicker load times, making not just for a prettier game, also one that feels better to play. Gears of War 4 is another notable example of a fantastic upgrade when on the Xbox One X. Running at native 4K that makes a huge difference, especially when coupled with the 4K texture pack that was previously exclusive to the PC version, as well as other additions like dynamic shadows, increased draw distances, and improved reflections. Gears of War 4 is also a great game to show off the difference that HDR makes, with an in-game setting that splits the screen, one side SDR and the other HDR. If you value frame rate over visuals, Gears of War 4 has a performance mode, aiming for 60 FPS that despite dips on some occasions, manages to maintain it a large amount of the time. Lastly, much like Rise of the Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed Origins, also supports Dolby Atmos that should definitely be taken advantage of if you can. If you played the game when it originally launched, it's certainly one to go back to, as the upgrades almost make it feel like a whole new experience. For the final game is the latest release in the Forza series and another of Microsoft's big IPs. Racing games have always been the best type of games to show off new hardware, with Forza 7 managing to raise the bar once again, running at a native 4K with 60 FPS on the Xbox One X. If you're looking for any game to show off the capability of the console, look no further. Forza 7 is not only a great game, but also unbelievable to look at, allowing you to see every tiny detail from raindrops running down the window screen to the smallest of stitching inside each car's interior. And with the inclusion of HDR, we get some extremely realistic skies that you have to wonder how Turn 10 can possibly top it for the next game. But one thing's for certain is that it's no surprise Forza 7 is a flagship game for the X. There will of course be plenty of other games that get X support in the future, from previously released games like Forza Horizon 3 or The Witcher 3 to yet to be released games such as Sea of Thieves and Crackdown 3. No doubt as time goes on, developers will get better and better at taking advantage of the new hardware, so we'll likely see even more stunning games in the next year. That's it for today. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content just like this. Click the thumbnail on the left or right for another of my videos. Thanks for watching as usual, and I'll see you on the next video.